Hey Dumplies, it's Dave Decide. Today I want to get into RM and what was kind of said about K-pop and maybe some of the concerns over what he said. It's not a huge deal, but it's interesting, I think. There's also the Korean government issuing some new changes that can be quite scary, and I'll explain why. So, hater or not, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on. Grab your dumpling at T-Spilling merch, and let's get into it. The first thing that I wanted to get into is some of the new Korean changes that are occurring. Age is a big thing in Korea. It's like the determining factor for respect. It's not even about how smart you are or anything like that. Most of it is around how old you are. There's two big ways to count age in Korea. There could be others, but I am not familiar. The standard that we all use is our birthday and the age you go by on your legal documents. And for most countries, this is the only age. And this is the age that Koreans will have on their legal documents as well. Then there's the Korean age. When you are born, you are now 1 year old, and then on New Year's Day, you get another year. And then from that point, it counts the New Year's Day, not your birthday. So someone like V, who was widely used on the news lately, would be 28 years old and not 26, which is his standard more legal age. This is because V's birthday is on December 30th, so he was literally born, and then 2 days later when it was New Year's, he became 2 years old by Korean age. Now, this isn't a big problem, you would think, because everyone can do whatever information they want as a cultural way, but then legally for passports and IDs, if it's the way of the whole world does it, then it's okay. But it's not that simple, because it's not just used in a cultural way where it's an age your family references you by or your friends. It's used widely in some sort of legal way in Korea. So it's used in the military enlistment age as well. So if someone like V, the Korean age is quite scary for him. For example, being 28 in Korean years by the old law would mean he would have to enlist in the military right away, instead of being 26 and having 2 years time before he has to enlist. This is obviously very confusing to a lot of people, and anyone going to Korea is confused when looking at the paperwork or filling it out, because what do you put? And in what instances do they prefer you use the Korean age versus the international age? You literally, as a foreigner, wouldn't know. So enacting a standard law, which is what the government announced they wanted to do to rid the Korean age, is better, you would think, right? And then everyone has the same age across the world. But also not really, because the Korean age isn't only used for the military, but was also used for several other official things, like even the vaccination thing, and deciding who gets vaccinated or if you get vaccinated at all. And there's likely other things that you can imagine if age would change would be an issue and quite scary, especially if you're right on that cusp of legal and illegal. This obviously affects so many people and idols included. So if the government was enacting this standard law to get rid of the Korean age, suddenly you could be a couple years younger and not eligible for certain things. And something as important as vaccination for young children could be crucial. But I don't know. Tell me if you think this is something that is a scary change, if you would support it, or if you would love to keep the Korean age standard in Korea. Likely mine or your opinion isn't going to matter that much, but I always love hearing the opinions of what other people think when certain laws are changed. Do you think this is a scary thing? I do. Maybe you think I'm dramatic. I don't know. Let me know. There's so many interesting and unique things in K-pop. There's just a lot of things you have to be more aware of. The country is a lot more sensitive, so a lot of people in Korea have to be more sensitive to words they say. And a lot of people like to say that the world is getting soft, but it was only America that really people were allowed to just say anything. But a lot of cultures have always been this way, and in a lot of Asian cultures, there are very deep-rooted meanings behind certain words that you simply cannot say. Like, it can literally mean that you're telling someone to go die. RM kind of addressed this during one of his recent V-Lives. This is a live stream that he did after the first Permission to Dance concert in Vegas. The boys seem to be a lot more open and active lately, and this is probably because they seem to have some spare time after the concert to bond with us ARMY. I do wonder if they debate on this, like play rock, paper, scissors or something to determine who should go live after the concert, because every time BTS makes an appearance or has a big event, they always go live after, but with concerts, it's a big event, but it's not a global event, so just one member goes live. But RM went live to give us a look on how he was feeling lately. I don't know how he was prompted, but he ended up talking about the language he feels most comfortable speaking. While RM's English is great, he is not a native speaker, so it was surprising to hear that he felt most comfortable speaking English. And this is shocking to me for several reasons. Because for a non-native speaker and Koreans, they know English, but they kind of have to take the English word, translate it to Korean in their head, and then say what they want to say in Korean in their head, and then translate that to English. Whereas obviously when I speak, it doesn't have to be translated. So I kind of thought RM spoke English like that, but it ends up being that he is much more talented than I could have imagined. And English seems to just flow through him naturally. RM continued to talk about how he feels comfortable because he doesn't have to be as cautious when speaking English versus Korean. He he talked about how he doesn't have to be as formal when speaking English and that he can be more honest. And from what we can take from this at the very least is that he probably is more himself when we hear him speak English. There's a lot of different things you have to know when speaking Korean, and it's mandatory. Like, even if you're friends with someone, it's still expected to use the proper titles to address someone if they're older than you or whatever. And also, being too informal can be seen as very rude, whereas not as rude to be informal in English. In fact, in some cases, it's seen as better. Like, if you're entering a mom and pop restaurant, you kind of want the owners to address you as if you've been here before. It feels like you're friends, but that's not always great in other cultures. So there were definitely people who thought that maybe this is talking about some of the difficulties RM or K-pop idols in general have with the industry, and then being so sensitive to everything. It's been pretty well documented that since BTS has gone to Vegas, they have not had a problem with showing their tattoos, being shirtless, or cursing, all of which they are less able to do in Korea. But these are all things they do. BTS talked about how they walk around their dorm and room shirtless. They obviously like tattoos, and they all do curse a lot. So as you can see, a big part of them is hidden when they have to do things in Korea. Would BTS prefer to leave K-pop and just do American music from now on? Do you think they have appeared to be more comfortable now in Las Vegas than they have ever been before? I think when they did any other comeback other than a Korean one, like for their Japanese albums and stuff, they seemed a lot more comfortable dancing and touching each other on stage than when they were in Korea doing their Korean albums. Or is this all in my head? What do you think? Of course, there were some concerns that ARMYs had with this idea if BTS should do another Korean album or do an English album. Personally, I would love an English album. I think it would be great. RM had talked about in the past that they did not want to do that, and he meant that at the time, but his idea has changed. I think it would be something fun to do. They have an album and songs in other languages. They also already released multiple English standalone singles. Why not create an English album? There's very obviously such a big fan base here in America and demand for this. It would be such a waste not to do it. But if they choose not to do it, I totally understand and will support them. But I do honestly think they will enjoy the English albums and have a lot of fun promoting it. There's a lot more topics they can cover without censorship. So in Korea, topics of mental health, which they have covered a lot in their older work, is often censored. So if you watch their music videos, the idea of suicide, like Jungkook's Euphoria, which has been reported and several theories talking about this, the topic is there, but it's more subtle and sometimes can be up for interpretation as whether it means that or not. And it's really all they could do, because these videos would get no screen time and probably no radio play if the videos were that dark. But here in America, there's definitely less censorship of that kind. I mean, they let the songs Pumped Up Kicks on the radio, and that's literally about shooting up a school. So literally anything that is not that will probably still make its way on radio. I personally feel like they just can do a lot more, and it can be a much darker and real album. And of course, they can always get help and a translator to help with the English lyrics. I think the members are working on something, and they will have something out very soon. I think very soon we will hear an announcement about their official comeback and hear talks about when the album and singles will come out. And I'm actually really hoping for a much darker album with their English songs. It's time to show the world that their work is not just fun pop music that is very danceable, and they have a lot of meanings in their songs. Unfortunately, those songs have all been in Korean, and that's really awesome. And you would think it's not a problem, but American radio doesn't really play their Korean music. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out my Patreon for more videos, link down below. Thank you to this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.